Welcome to the Godman Podcast, everybody.
Hey guys,
We are your chosen, anointed royal priesthood of hosts.
that's right. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
He didn't introduce himself when I left him an intro. This is Big Mike.
Your humble host. Yo, what's up? This your boy Rock.
I was about to say, wow, he's still not going to do it. Okay. And y'all already see what it is. We're coming back at you with the next installment of our Bible study series. We are in the book of 1Kings, and we will be starting with chapter 8, which I just looked and was like, oh, 66 verses.
Definitely a doozy. Definitely a doozy, as you would say.
This is a doozy. Might have to split this up in half, Rodney.
Wait, you said 66?
Yeah.
All right. I can pick up at 33.
Yeah, about 33 apiece. All right, so y'all know what it is. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on socials. That'll be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know what Rodney's been doing on Instagram and TikTok because I don't have any, folks. So if he's not been doing what he's supposed to be doing, y'all message him and get at him. Same thing with Facebook. I have Facebook, but for whatever reason, I don't have access to the page. Rodney.
Meet me outside.
Which I don't really see any activity happening on that much either. So, man, Rodney, what are you doing?
I don't know. I be scheduling them for the post.
And nothing. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, yeah. All right. So, yeah, you can find us on our, I'm sorry, y'all. I've been reading.
Are you distracted?
I've been reading my psychology textbook all day, and right now the last thing that's been in my mind is me going on a side search to look up the psychological profiles of people who are arsonists, which is, by the way, between 80 and 90% male, with it overwhelmingly being white male.
Wow.
And there's a strong correlation between that and sexual assault, and a strong correlation between people who are arsonists and people who have been sexually abused as children.
Wow.
Yeah. Because with arson, they're typically doing that as a way of asserting dominance and showing power and feeling powerful and whatnot, expressing anger and rage and whatnot. And a lot of them are also sexual assaults, also committed sexual assault as well. Like, there's a whole thing on that. It's like, wow, burning down starting a fire means that you've been touched and want to touch. Like, I'm sorry, that's an oversimplification, simplification, and very irresponsible of me to say so in that way. But anyway, yeah, so that's, yeah. You can find us on, our YouTube, Lord, Rodney.
Focus, man. Focus.
It's YouTube.
So yes, so you can find us on all digital formats. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and you can follow us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, all those formats. You can also message us on our email at thegodmanpodcast@gmail.com. Let's take it away into this episode, Mike.
Yeah, what you said. Thank God I have no debt with them currently. All right, so 1Kings chapter 8.
Chapter 8.
Verse 1.
Let's do this.
That's right. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and brought the heads of the tribes, the leaders of the fathers' houses of the people of Israel, before King Solomon in Jerusalem to bring up the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion. That is a very long sentence. That whole verse was one sentence, bro.
Yeah, man.
And all of the men of Israel assembled to King Solomon at the feast of the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark, and they went and they brought up the ark of the Lord to the tent of meeting, and all the holy vessels were in all the holy vessels that were in the tent. The priests and the Levites brought them up. And King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel, who had assembled before him, were with him before the ark, sacrificing so many sheep and oxen that they could not be counted or numbered. Then the priest brought the ark of the covenant of the Lord to its place in the inner sanctuary of the house, in the most holy place underneath the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread out their wings over the place of the ark, so the cherubim overshadowed the ark and its poles. And the poles were so long that the ends of the poles were seen from the holy place before the inner sanctuary, but they could not be seen from the outside. And they were there to this day. There was nothing in the ark except the two tablets of stone that Moses put there at Horeb, where the Lord made a covenant with the people of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt. And when the priest came out of the holy place, a cloud filled the house of the Lord, so that the priest could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. Then Solomon said, "The Lord has said that he will dwell in thick darkness. I have indeed built you an exalted house, a place for you to dwell in forever." Then the king turned around and blessed all the assembly of Israel, while all the assembly of Israel stood. And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who with his hand has fulfilled what he promised with his mouth to David my father, saying, Since the day that I brought my people out of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Israel in which to build a house, that my name might be there, but I chose David to be over my people of Israel. Now it was in the heart of David my father to build a house in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. But the Lord said to David my father, Whereas it was in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that was in your heart. Nevertheless, you shall not build the house, but your son who shall be born to you shall build the house for my name. Now the Lord has fulfilled his promise that he made, for I have risen in place of David my father and sit on the throne of Israel, as the Lord promised, and I have built the house for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. And there I have provided a place for the ark, in which is the covenant of the Lord that he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Israel. Then Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord, in the presence of all the assembly of Israel, and spread out his hands toward heaven, and said, O Lord, God of Israel, there is no God like you, in heaven above or on earth beneath, keeping your covenant and showing steadfast your love to your servants, who walk before you with all their heart. You have kept with your servant David, my father, what you declared to him. You spoke with your mouth to fill and with your hand have fulfilled it this day. Now therefore, O Lord, God of Israel, keep for your servant David my father what you have promised him, saying, You shall not lack a man to sit before me on the throne of Israel. If only your sons pay close attention to their way, to walk before me as you have walked before me. Now therefore, O God of Israel, let your word be confirmed which you have spoken to your servant David my father. But will God indeed dwell on earth? Behold, heaven and the highest heaven cannot contain you. How much less can this house that I've built? Yet have regard to the prayer of your servant and his plea. O Lord, my God, listening to this cry of the prayer that your servant prays before you this day, that your eyes may be open night and day towards this house, the place which you have said, my name shall be there, that you may listen to the prayer that your servant offers towards this place. And listen to the plea of your servant and your people Israel, When they pray toward the place and listen in heaven, your dwelling place, when you hear and forgive. If man sins against his neighbor and is made to take an oath and comes and swears his oath before your altar in this house, then hear in heaven and act and judge your servants, condemning the guilty by bringing his conduct on his own head, and vindicating the righteous by rewarding him according to his righteousness. When your people Israel are defeated before the enemy because they have sinned against you, and if they turn again to you and acknowledge your name and pray and plead with you in the house, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your people Israel and bring them again to the land which you gave to their fathers. You pick up right there at 35.
Okay, 35 heard. When the heavens are shut up and there is no rain because your people have sinned against you, and when they pray toward this place and give praise to your name and turn from their sin because you have afflicted them, then hear from heaven and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Israel. Teach them the right way to live and send rain on the land, and you gave your people for an inheritance. When famine or plague comes to the land, or blight or mildew, locusts or grasshoppers, or when an enemy besides them in any of their cities, whatever disaster or disease may come, and when prayer or plea is made by anyone among your people Israel, being aware of the afflictions of their own hearts, and spreading out their hands toward this temple, then hear from heaven your dwelling place. Forgive and act. Deal with everyone according to all they do, since you know their hearts, for you know alone every human heart, so that they will fear you all the time they live in the land you gave our ancestors. As for the foreigner who does not belong to your people, Israel, but has come from a distant land because of your name, for they will hear of your great name and your mighty hand and your outstretched arm, when they come and pray toward this temple. Then hear from heaven your dwelling place. Do whatever the foreigner asks of you, so that all the peoples of the earth may know your name and fear you, as do your own people Israel, and may know that this house I have built bears your name. When your people go to war against your enemies, wherever you send them, and when they pray to the Lord toward the city you have chosen in a temple I have built for your name, then hear from heaven their prayer and their plea and uphold their cause. When they sin against you, for there is no one who does not sin, and you become angry with them and give them over to their enemies, who take them captive to their own lands, far away or near. And if they have a change of heart in the land where they have held captive, and repent and plead with you in the land of their captors, and say, we have sinned, we have done wrong, we have acted wickedly. And they turn back to you with all their heart and soul in the land of their enemies who took them captive, and pray to you toward the land you gave their ancestors, toward the city you have chosen, the temple I have built for your name. Then from heaven, your dwelling place, hear their prayer and their plea and uphold their cause, and forgive your people who have sinned against you, for all the offenses they have committed against you, and cause their captors to show them mercy, for they are your people and your inheritance, whom you brought out of Egypt, out of that iron smelting furnace. May your eyes be open to your servant's plea and to the plea of your people Israel, and you may listen to them whenever they cry out to you. For you singled them out from all the nations of the world by be your own inheritance, just as you declared through your servant Moses, when you, sovereign Lord, brought our ancestors out of Egypt. When Solomon had finished all these prayers and supplications to the Lord, he rose from before the altar of the Lord, where he had been kneeling with his hands spread out toward heaven. He stood and blessed the whole assembly of Israel in a loud voice, saying, Praise be to the Lord, who has given rest to his people Israel, just as he promised. Not one word has failed of all the good promises he have gave to his servant Moses. May the Lord our God be with us as he was with our ancestors. May he never leave us nor forsake us. May he turn our hearts to him, to walk in obedience to him and keep the commands, decrees, and laws he gave our ancestors. And may these words of mine, which I have prayed before the Lord, be near to the Lord our God, day and night, that he may uphold the cause of his servant in the cause of his people Israel, according to each day's need, so that all the peoples of the earth may know that the Lord is God and that there is no other. And may your hearts be fully committed to the Lord our God, to live by his decrees and obey his commands as this time. Then the king of all Israel with him offered sacrifices before the Lord. Solomon offered a sacrifice of fellowship offerings to the Lord, 22,000 cattle and 120,000 sheep and goats. So the king and all the Israelites dedicated the temple of the Lord. On that same day, the king consecrated the middle part of the courtyard in front of the temple of the Lord. And there he offered burnt offerings, grain offerings, and the fat of the fellowship offerings, because the bronze altar that stood before the Lord was too small to hold the burnt offerings, the grain offerings, and the fat of the fellowship offerings. So Solomon observed the festival at that time, and all Israel with him, a vast assembly. People from Lebo Hamath to the Wadi of Egypt, they celebrated before the Lord our God for 7 days and 7 days more, 14 days in all. On the following day, he sent the people away. They blessed the king and then went home, joyful and glad in heart for all the good things the Lord had done for his servant David and his people Israel. That was chapter 8, a very, very long chapter. Whew, man. Mike, any thoughts on the chapter that we just read?
My goodness, I was on mute. Dang. Yeah, I was on. So what I was saying, what I was saying is that I like this chapter because it's a coronation, basically, on the temple of the Lord that has been built for him, right? So this is like the ceremony where he's speaking over everything. He's talking to God. He's blessing the temple. He's reminding God of his word. He's speaking to the people and addressing them. Then, having a massive sacrifice and, and then they partying.
Exactly. That's really what it is. Yeah. They really just partying and looking to hear, like, just I
Ain't no
was
party
reading.
like a Hebrew party because a Hebrew party don't stop.
I wonder how a Hebrew party was back in the day. Like,
Bro, we see in the word. They lasted for like a week.
Yeah, they was really, like you said, they was really not stop with that. They said, "Hey, we gonna party. We gonna go in. We did go in."
They're like, "Hey, look, bro, we get like 2 of these a year."
Look, you all know, like, when it comes to party, they do one only twice a year. You gotta go big. You gotta go big for sure.
Yeah. So. Alrighty.
All right, I can go into the next chapter.
Moving
on to chapter 9.
Chapter 9, which has.
Let's see here.
Oh, Lord. 28 verses. Awesome.
Wait, it's bad. I kind of did look see how many verses there was.
I did that too because I was like, Lord, let's not do this. If it's like this again, look, I'm not gonna lie. If it was like another 60 verses, I was gonna look to the next chapter after that too and be like, all right, we're just gonna read it straight, like.
Exactly.
All right. Chapter 9.
Chapter 9.
As soon as Solomon had finished the building.
Go ahead, brother.
As soon as Solomon had finished building the house of the Lord and the king's house and all that Solomon desired to build, the Lord appeared to Solomon a second time as he had appeared to him in Gibeon. And the Lord said to him, I have heard your prayer and your plea which you have made before me. I have consecrated this house that you have built by putting my name there forever. My eyes and my heart will be there for all time. And as for you, if you will walk before me as David your father walked, with integrity of heart and uprightness doing according to all that I have commanded you, and keeping my statutes and rules, then I will establish your royal throne over Israel forever, as I promised David your father, saying, you shall not lack a man on the throne of Israel. But, here we go, conditional, bro. But, if you turn aside from following me, you and your children, and do not keep my commandments and statutes that I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship him. Then I will cut off Israel from the land that I have given them, and the house that I have consecrated for my name will be cast out of my sight, and Israel will become a proverb and beyond among all people. And this house will become a heap of ruins. Everyone passing by it will be astonished and will hiss, and they will say, "Why has the Lord done this to this land and to this house?" Then they will say, "Because they abandoned the Lord their God, who brought their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold to other gods and worshipped them and served them. Therefore the Lord has brought all this disaster on them." All right, I just want to stop there real quick, Rodney, because but first off, after he said, "If you do this with other gods," like, we know this is foreshadowing, right?
Yeah.
But like what he said was going to happen, guess what? It's exactly what happened. It's crazy to think this. He warned them and told him straight up what was going to happen if if you are with if you decide to go and serve other gods. I'm going to forget this temple. I'm going to forget all of you. And, what I'm going to do in this land is I'm going to cut you and all these people off from the land that I told you I was giving you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make Israel a proverb. Think about that real quick, right?
Ooh.
I'm going to make them a proverb for the rest of the world to see. Like, when you think about like how powerful of a statement that is, he basically just say, "Yo, you guys are going to be an example for other people to look and to look at for wisdom, to know what not to do." Like, it's kind of insane to think about that. I'm going to make you guys a proverb throughout the land and all the peoples. And it's going to be a heap of ruin. And people passing by are going to be hiss at the land and say, "Why has the Lord done this to this land and this house?" And then they're going to respond and say, "Because these Negroes abandoned the Lord their God, who brought their fathers out of the land of Egypt and lay hold of other gods and worshiped them and served them. So he has brought disaster on them."
Wow, that's heavy. That's heavy right there, man.
Yeah. It's real heavy because it's like, first off, the warning was incredible, right? Like, it's not like he was like, "Hey, look, y'all gonna have some issues." He straight up said, "I'm cutting you off. Not from me. I'm cutting you off from the land. I'm going to make this is going to be destroyed. The people are going to come by here and be like, 'Yo, why did God do this to this land?' Oh, that's right, because they decided to worship other gods. I'm going to make you guys a proverb that other people are going to talk about, to know not to screw around with." Like, and they still end up doing it. Spoiler alert, people. It's the Bible, though. It's not really a spoil. Solomon's other acts. Bro, and that was just the first 9 scriptures, 9 verses.
Yep.
At the end of 20 years, in which Solomon had built the 2 houses, the house of the Lord and the king's house, and Hiram, king of Tyre, had supplied Solomon with cedar and cypress timber and gold, as much as he desired, King Solomon gave to Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. But when Hiram came from Tyre to see the cities that Solomon had given him, they did not please him. He said, "What kind of city are these that you have given me, my brother?" So they are called the land of Kabul to this day. Hiram had sent the king 120 talents of gold. And this is the account of the forced labor that the king Solomon drafted to build the house of the Lord, and his own house, and in the Millo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh, prophet of Egypt, had gone up and captured Gezer and burned it down with fire, and had killed the Canaanites who lived in the city, and had given it as a dowry to his daughter, Solomon's wife. So Solomon rebuilt Gezer. and lower Beth Horon, and Bethar and Tamar in the wilderness, and in the land of Judah, and all the stored cities that Solomon had, and the cities for his chariots, and the cities for his horsemen, and whatever Solomon desired to build in Jerusalem, in Lebanon, and in the land of his dominion. All the people who were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites were not of the people of Israel. Their descendants who were left after them in the land, whom the people of Israel were unable to devote to destruction, these Solomon drafted to be slaves, and so they are to this day. But of the people of Israel, Solomon made no slaves. They were soldiers, they were his officials, his commanders, his captains, his chariot commanders, and his horsemen. These were the chief officers who were in over Solomon's work, 550 who had charge of the people who carried on the work. But Pharaoh's daughter went up from the city of David to her own house that Solomon had built for her, that he built, then he built the Millo. 3 times a year Solomon used to offer up burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar that he built to the Lord, making offerings with it before the Lord. So he finished the house. King Solomon had a fleet of ships at Ezion Geber, which is near Eloth, the shore of the Red Sea, and in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent with the fleet his servants, seamen who were familiar with the sea, together the servants of Solomon, and they went to Ophir and brought from there gold, 420 talents, and they brought it to King Solomon.
Mm. The obligations. I'm just looking over the part where 3 times a year. That's the part that I was looking at where they sacrifice the burnt offerings. That's what I was looking at. It's really like just digesting that. Fulfill the obligations.
After he went there to
That's
sacrifice, yeah.
yeah. That's the part I was looking at. Yeah, just digesting that and looking that over. I'm like, that's interesting. Really interesting for sure.
All right, well, when you're ready, chapter 10.
All right, cool. Say less. Okay, going chapter 10.
Look, see, only 29 verses. You good.
That sounds good. Okay. When the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. Arriving at Jerusalem with a very great caravan with camels carrying spices, large quantities of gold, and precious stones, she came to Solomon and talked with him about all she had on her mind. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. When the queen of Sheba saw all the wisdom of Solomon in the place he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his officials, the attending servants in their robes, his cupbearers, and the burnt offerings he made at the temple of the Lord, she was overwhelmed. She said to the king, "The report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true. But I did not believe these things until I came and saw with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth, you have far exceeded the report I heard. How happy your people must be. How happy your officials who continually stand before you and hear your wisdom. Praise be to the Lord your God who has delighted in you and placed you on the throne of Israel because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel. He has made you king to maintain justice and righteousness." And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, large quantities of spices and precious stones. Never again were so many spices brought in as those the queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. Hiram ships brought gold from, what was that old word? Ophir?
Mm-hmm.
Ophir, and from there they brought great cargoes of almug wood.
Yeah,
Almug wood, thank you.
I don't know.
Exactly. The king used the almug wood to make supports for the temple, of the Lord and for the royal palace and make harps and lyres for the musicians. So much almug wood has never been imported or since that day. King Solomon gave the Queen of Sheba all she desired and asked for besides what he had given her out of his royal bounty. Then she left and returned with her retinue to her own country. The weight of the gold that Solomon received yearly was 666 talents, not including the revenues from merchants and traders from all the Arabian kings and the governors of the territories. King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold. 600 shekels of gold went into each shield. He also made 300 small shields of hammered gold and 3 minas of gold in each shield. The king
Hold
put
on,
them.
real quick,
Go ahead.
bruh.
What's
Do
up?
you know how much gold is in that shield?
I'm assuming a lot. It gotta be a lot from the way how they're saying it right now.
Like, you know how big a shekel is, right?
Yeah. Oh
Right,
yeah, for sure.
right. This is not that big or thick of a piece of of precious metal. So like, if it's a gold, shekel, silver, whatever, right? It says 600 shekels though,
600, man. Into each shield?
bruh. Man, just showing off at this point. What you need, like, and here's why I say he's showing off, because everyone knows it's any kind of especially back then military, everything was precious metals and whatnot. But like anyone that knows metals knows gold will do nothing for you in a fight.
At all.
It's just pretty.
Yeah.
If gold meets against iron, iron destroys and shatters it. So like, it's not has it literally you making a shield of gold has no purpose other than to be fancy. And this man made 200 of these large shields that took 600 shekels. Look, hold on. Let's do some math real quick, Rodney.
Let's go. Let's go do some math.
Let's do some math,
real quick.
Right. So I'm trying to find my calculator. Ah, there we go. So 200 times 600. That's 120,000 shekels of gold on those shields. Just the big ones. Right? Then it said he made 300 shields that were the smaller ones. And I don't know what 3 minas is, so I can't calculate that. But, bro, just on the big shields, he'd used 120,000 shekels of gold. Let's calculate that into something real quick, right?
Let's do that real quick.
Okay. So it's estimated a gold shekel is about 11 and a half grams, right? Bam. So we about to do this right now. 11 and a half grams for 1 shekel, right? So we're talking about what did I say, 120,000 shekels. So that's gonna be times 11.5. So that's 1,380,000 grams of gold. So let's now get on old Google here again and look at what current day how much money that would be.
Let me know. Let me know. Let me know.
All right, so check it, right? A gram of gold right now is $87.92. So, if you take 1,380,000 grams and you multiply that by what did I say, $87.92, you get $120,000,000, $329,600. That man spent just that much on the 300 large shields that he made. in modern day money. Just on the large ones. We're not even counting the other ones because I don't know what the measurement for that was. That just shows you, bro. The man was showing off. This is how much money he was getting in. This is how much people were giving him.
Nah, that's facts. That's definitely facts right there.
The man had all the gold on that side of the world.
On the side of the world right there.
Richest king, bro.
I'm telling you, man.
All right, you can continue, bro.
Okay. Okay, let me get this together. Let's see. Trying to get myself together. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammer gold. 600 shekels of gold went to each shield. He also made 300 small shields of hammer gold with 3 minas of gold in each shield. The king put them in the palace of the forest of Lebanon. Then the king made a great throne covered with ivory and overlaid with fine gold. The throne had 6 steps and its back had a rounded top. On both sides of the seat were armrests with a lion standing beside each of them. 2 lions stood on the 6 steps, one at either end of each step. Nothing like it had ever been made for any other kingdom. All King Solomon's goblets were gold, and all the household articles in the palace of the forest of Lebanon were pure gold. Nothing was made of silver, because silver was considered a little value in Solomon's days. The king had a fleet of trading ships at sea along with the ships of Hiram. Once every 3 years it returned, carrying gold, silver, and ivory, and apes and baboons. Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Mine
King
says
Solomon was
peacocks.
greater in... You said what?
Peacocks.
Peacocks.
Yeah, it says gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. In the
Interesting.
ESV. Which,
Yeah, in
I'll be
ESV.
honest, I think it makes more sense if
Yeah.
you're saying, like, as far as, like, things, because one of the things, like, back then that was really, that they loved were peacocks, like, coming from India because of the beauty.
Yeah.
Like, royalty loved to have peacocks in the castle because it was, like, the, the
Yeah.
beautiful feathers
Yeah,
and all that.
it's a beautiful bird.
Yeah. The apes is weird.
Yeah, like what I was saying, I said,
Like, I don't want no doo-doo throwing monkeys or apes inside my house.
because them niggas is aggressive.
Oh, you did it again.
I did. Them things are aggressive.
It's not even just aggressive because you could, I mean, you could go snatch some baby ones and tame them, whatnot, to the most part.
Yeah.
Like, because it doesn't have, like, we don't have, it don't have to be a chimp. Like, I'm pretty sure they weren't trying to domesticate chimps because that's a bad idea regardless of whatever type whatever, however you try to make it. They chimps stay on demon time.
For sure.
Them things were born in that. Okay.
That is
Like,
hilarious.
it
That's
says
funny.
apes. You know, it could have been like gorillas, you know, or something like that, because they're very peaceful and docile as long as you're not smiling at them and like making eye contact. You know what? It's probably
Yeah.
just regular monkeys, bro.
Probably.
I know it says apes in this translation. It's probably just regular monkeys because I don't apes. I don't see it unless you just got them in a cage. But yeah,
Nah, that's facts. That's definitely facts. Yeah. Solomon. Oh no. King Solomon was greater in riches and wisdom than all the other kings of the earth. The whole world sought audience with Solomon to hear the wisdom God had put in his heart. Year after year, everyone who came brought a gift: articles of silver and gold, robes, weapons, and spices, and horses and mules. Solomon accumulated chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses, which he kept in the chariot cities and also with him in Jerusalem. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and cedar as plentiful as sycamore fig trees in the foothills. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and from Q. The royal merchants purchased from them from Q at the current price. They imported a chariot from Egypt for 600 shekels of silver and a horse for 150. They also exported them to all the kings of the Hittites and of the Armenians. Arameans? I'm
guess
gonna say Arameans.
that's probably what that is. So like different versions, bro. Because like you're reading what
Sure.
NIV.
It's anybody, yeah.
Yeah. So in ESV, that's the kings of Syria.
Okay, cool.
Kings of the Hittites and kings of Syria. So yeah, but one thing I love about this is it shows.
What's that?
So one thing we learn in history, right, is that
Mm-hmm.
Egypt had an empire early on because of their military prowess, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the Egyptian empire went south of Egypt. They conquered all the way down into like, I want to say like South Sudan and everything, like the whole
Mm-hmm.
Kush area, and then up north and everything like that, across the Sinai region and everything, because the Egyptians had something that revolutionized war at the time, and that was
Mm-hmm.
chariots.
Yeah.
Egyptians had very good horses, very high
Mm-hmm.
quality horses they bred, and they had chariots, which at that time was something different because it allowed for you to have a few horses moving at high speed, pulling a chariot cart with one driver, and you
Mm-hmm.
could have three other guys inside that chariot shooting, let's say shooting bow and arrow or throwing spears, whatnot, whatever they're
Mm-hmm.
doing, right? And that was devastating to other armies because before, a cavalry is you're on a horse and you're using a sword. Now
Mm-hmm.
you're on a horse, and people for the first time basically in like history are on a horseback and they're shooting arrows. Was not horseback, but they're using a horse drawn carriage and they're firing basically ballistics from that, which had never been
Mm-hmm.
seen before and done. The
Yeah.
maneuverability of being able to do that was on a different level. Like basically, like it revolutionized war, and they were the best at it because they created it, and they
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of them, which is why they were able to sell Israel 1,400 chariots
Mm.
and all the horses to go with it. And look how much money Egypt just made back off of that.
Yeah.
Like
For sure.
that reminds me of like United States right now, current day.
Mm-hmm.
We are the kings of military R&D.
Yeah.
And when we make something, we sell it to our allies for market value. Whereas the contracts that the military contractors, when they get it with our military for the R&D project and everything, we go for whoever has the lowest price. So whoever gets that, they get to go ahead and, they get the bid to get the financing to make and research and make the weapon from the U.S. military, which the U.S. military is going to go buy then afterwards with the contract. But then they can go and sell it overseas for much more money to our allies, except for the F-22. No one's
Yeah.
allowed to
That's
have one of
yeah. That's
those.
true. Yeah.
But yeah, so it just draws parallels to that for me because it's like once you're good enough at something like military wise like that, it literally can make you money.
For sure.
All right, so that was 8, 9, 10. Jeez, do we do 11? Do we want to do 11? 11's kind of a long one too. All right, let's just stop there because we're already at 45 minutes in.
Okay.
Yeah, and 11's kind of a longer, longer one.
Another doozy.
It's like 45 verses.
Yeah. We can do that next week. We can do that next week.
Yeah, we could do that next week. I don't. I need to get back to reading. For everyone that knows to know, like I said, psychology. I'm still reading my textbook, and I have work due tonight. And I'm saying that really low. Anyway, we thank everybody that listened. This has been another Bible study episode. Come back to us next week where we will be starting on chapter 11 of 1 Kings. And just to let you know, there's only 22 chapters in 1 Kings. So, like, in 25 in 2 Kings. So, this is actually going to go quicker than, like, Exodus and everything else. Because Exodus, I think, was like 44.
Right.
All right, so may the Lord keep you, his countenance shine upon you. Amen. Go with the blessing of the Lord.